I'm laughing. Oh, because I'm excited today to share this with you guys. But I got so excited on the live call at 12:30. What was it? It was 12:52. I remember looking at the clock and it was 12:52, so I was 22 minutes into it and Heather goes, "Hey, are you gonna record this?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to push record." So here I am. For all of you that like to listen and watch the recordings, I just got too excited and I forgot to push record. It's only happened one other time. And thank you, Heather, though, because I would have gotten to the end and realized it. And so at least you made me aware. So, anyway, I am excited today because I'm going to share something with y'all. Anybody who has access to these recordings in my programs, I am going to gift you with a surprise here very soon. I'm going to show you what the surprise is, the gift is today. I'm going to go through it a little bit, talk a little bit about it. Probably in a little condensed version. I went on some tangents. Who knows? Maybe I'll go on some tangents in this talk too. But anyway, I'm going to gift you guys something here pretty soon, probably within a few days. You're either going to get an upload in your healthy document section, or maybe I'll just send you a link in the chat. I'm not really sure yet because I'm putting final touches on this project that I hope you guys are as excited about as I am because it's going to help a ton of people if they want to help themselves, right? Or if you want to help yourself. Specifically, if you follow me on social media, and if you don't, you should. Facebook, Instagram, I kind of cross post a lot, so one or the other or both. But I've been talking about a topic that some of you guys are going to be familiar with because I've talked about it in the past. It's been a while, called upper cross syndrome. Upper cross syndrome is a postural syndrome that affects so many people. And, in a lot of different ways, because whether it's students that sit in a desk all day, whether you're at work at a desk all day, or maybe you just always have had bad posture. Maybe you're looking down this day and age, the text neck, right? So looking down at phones all the times, working on laptops where our heads out forward or down, it leads to these postural issues. So the people that need to pay attention is really everybody, because you don't have to have symptoms to have this going on. Maybe you will in a year or 5 or 10 years. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to get all these headaches or migraines, or I have all this neck pain. I have arthritis in my neck now. Like, where did it come from? These are the root causes to a lot of that stuff that can be taken care of proactively. And even if you're in the midst of things like tension headaches, chronic neck tightness, you got knots in the tissues and you always have to get massage therapy, things like that, stiffness and range of motion issues, shoulder issues, TMJ even issues, and the list could go on. Numbness and tingling in the hands and fingers. The list could go on. All of these kind of things can come from this postural distortion syndrome, whatever you want to call it. And what I'm doing, what I'm gifting you guys, is I've come up with a 30-day at home, do it yourself rehabilitation plan that if you take 10 minutes, sometimes less per day for 30 days, I almost will guarantee you're going to see some sort of improvement in these issues. Okay. Now, after 30 days, maintenance, right? You need to continue to do the program to some degree. But I'm telling you, you be disciplined and diligent for 30 days. I will be surprised if you don't see some pretty significant progress. Keep seeing your professionals, your chiropractors, your massage therapists, your body workers, all those people. Obviously, sometimes there's things that we cannot address ourselves, but what the biggest missing link is for so many people is we depend on people like me to adjust us, to massage us, to work out all of these areas, to improve our pain, our mobility, and then we don't do anything to address it ourselves. So it's kind of like the analogy that you've all probably heard is like, if you eat one salad a week or one vegetable a week, is that going to really do anything for your nutrition? It's better than nothing, but it's probably not going to do a whole lot in the long term. If you work out one time a week, okay, better than nothing, but it's not going to get you fit and stay healthy. The same thing goes for this example. If you get adjusted, if you get a massage, these are all great things, but are those people teaching you what to do at home? Because if you just go back to the same posture, the same desk, the same computer, the same looking down all the time, and you're not interrupting those cycles, you're going to end up in the same spot. So let me share my screen. I'm going to show you guys what I have for you. And it is going to be something that I put out for sale to the public. So again, I'm gifting it to you guys that are all a part of my program. I hope you find high value in it, and I know it's a good program. I've been doing this kind of work for well over 15 years, y'all, and the people who do these kind of programs consistently see sometimes life altering change in what's going on in them. Okay. So when I do put it out for sale, it's gonna the first wave, my first launch. If you know people, again, it'll be on primarily through social media. So follow me there, and you'll be able to point this in the direction of maybe friends, family, people, coworkers who need this, right? If they if they're like, oh, I have to see my chiropractor all the time. Oh, I have to see my massage. Oh, I have to go to my PT. This is basically a physical therapy program, right? That you can do at home. Okay. It's always advisable, which it says on page 2, the disclaimer is I'm not your healthcare professional. I don't maybe know what's going on. This is at your own risk. But man, these are safe exercises. It's laid out in a way that if you follow the directions, you don't cause pain to yourself. You should never do anything that's painful. Man, you can do so much good on your own where you might not even have to see those professionals anymore. Or you can go in and show them everything you've learned and they'll be amazed. So any way you want to go about it. But it's called Neck Pain and Headaches No More. Of course, it goes way deeper than those two things, but those two things plague Americans, right? So a 30-day upper cross syndrome postural reset program. So again, the heck is upper cross? So I just want to hit some of the highlights today. Upper cross syndrome is what you see here. It's this postural, it's more complex than just saying, oh, I have a tight neck and I get these knots back here. Oh, I have all this tension at the base of my skull and it causes headaches. Yeah, things are tight, things are knotted up, but that is happening for a reason. Posturally, if you're looking down, if your head's forward, if your shoulders are rounded, it's more complex than just rubbing out or massaging out those tissues. So if you look at this diagram, it kind of explains it. The words that you see on the upper right and lower left that are more in the red or pink color, those are the tissues that get tight, overactive, knots. It's going to be your upper trapezius, your levator scapula, your pectorals. There are others like the lat muscle gets tight in a lot of people, etc. But you have to release, stretch, and deactivate those muscles most of the time, generally speaking. Okay, so that's what maybe your massage therapist or your chiropractor or PT is doing is they're working out some tightness. They're telling you to stretch. Okay, but are they also telling you to activate, strengthen, turn on the inhibited components of this postural distortion? Those are the inhibited muscles, such as the deep neck flexors, which are the muscles along the front of your spine that hold your head back in a neutral, stable position, fighting this forward head posture. We don't want to be here. We want to be here. That's the job of one of the things that deep neck flexors do. Okay. The inhibited rhomboids, serratus anterior, middle and lower trapezius, we could add on there. There's a lot of muscles that help stabilize your shoulder blades primarily in a down and back position, which prevents this slouching forward rounded hunched over appearance, which you see in this person right here. Okay, there's different extremes of this, of course. Some people are really hunched over and others just kind of have their head out and forward. So it's just something that a lot of us need to at least pay attention to. You may have 2 of these 4 things going on, 3 of these 4, or potentially all 4. So this program is designed to help you work through each and every one of these, and then you can assess and kind of pick out, okay, that was obviously an issue. I'm tight back here. I need to focus there, and I'm weak here, so I need to focus there. And over time, past the 30 days, you can really start honing in on what your specific problems are and continue to self-treat, okay, and take care of yourself, right? So that's kind of what, excuse me, talking for 2 hours straight now since I forgot to record. Got a little dry. So that's what upper cross syndrome is, okay? So now let's go into, again, the disclaimer here is always consult with your healthcare professional, blah, blah, blah. Get a hold of me since you guys are in my program, of course. This is a little bit more detail on kind of some of the analytics of what's going on. So again, the muscles that become tight and overactive. So a tight muscle sometimes is tight for a reason. It's protecting something else potentially, or it's just chronically in a bad position. So let me give you an example. The neck muscles back here. So the levator scapula muscle specifically, this one that I have right, actually, I don't know. I can't do it right now. This is all messing up. Anyway, the levator scapula, you see it. It attaches to your shoulder blade and then goes up your neck. It's called the levator because it's like an elevator, up and down, up and down. So it helps, it shrugs your shoulders and your shoulder blades up. Okay. It pulls on the neck, obviously, as it does that. So if you're someone who catches their shoulders up by your ears a lot. Maybe you're just stressed out, wound up, uptight, and you're always like feeling like you're clenching up or shrugging up like this. That muscle is under a constant state of contraction. When it's under a constant state of contraction, it's going to basically become weak and inhibited and tight. Okay. Another example would be that protection mechanism. So a lot of times we look at someone's like say shoulder area and we're like, oh my goodness, you have all this tightness. Like we need to work out that pec minor, your lat muscle. You might need to, but why are those muscles tight? Is it because of the poor posture or are they trying to protect something else going on? And so often those muscles are tightening up because there's a weakness or an instability somewhere else in that shoulder joint or neck or wherever where it's trying to guard and protect. And that's the reason it's tight. So again, the purpose and the point here is you need to start assessing, analyzing, and then treating all of these areas. Okay. And over time, you're really going to kind of understand more, what your body's telling you. So we want your posture to go from what's on the left here to what's on the right. Okay. And it matters to all of us. I talked about this at one point with the live group, but man, it's just on my brain now because I brought it up is our kids. Our kids these days, the teenagers, I've been in practice for a long time and I've seen a ton of kids and I've x-rayed a ton of kids, a ton of teenagers mostly. And our neck, if you go back up to this picture, is supposed to be kind of there's a natural kind of C shape or curve to it. Okay. And what happens the more we have this postural syndrome, the more we look down, which are kids all day, tablets, iPads, iPhones, laptops, games. Man, you see an x-ray of a kid's spine and it's no longer curved. It is completely straight. I've even seen teenagers with reverse cervical curves, meaning they're curving the opposite direction because they're so forward all day, every day. That is scary, y'all. Like if we don't do something about this, okay, they're developing that way. Their bones are not done like developing, growing, and solidifying. These kids, our generations, you think a lot of us have neck problems, disc herniations, numbness and tingling in our arms, headaches, migraines. You think we have issues? Our generations are going to be 10 times worse if we don't do something about this. Okay. So these programs, this is something you can implement with your kids. Now, is it hard to get a teenager to do something like this? Absolutely, I understand that. But if you could, if you have a kid that's willing and wanting to, and you can make the point to them, like, and a lot of them probably already do have headaches, and they probably have ADHD and anxiety and depression. Can this stuff be linked to even that? I didn't say that in the first talk, but there is so much going on in your upper cervical and your neck area, your brain stem, the vagus nerve, some of these things that directly correlate to our mental health. So yeah, there's some potential there that this tension, this stress, this postural syndrome could be exacerbating, contributing to mental health issues. I kid you not. I've seen it. I've done it. Okay. Okay, so again, other symptoms people might have, it's more than neck pain and headaches. There can be shoulder issues with this, rotator cuff issues, TMJ issues. I mentioned numbness and tingling in the arms, difficulty maintaining good posture like fatigue, reduced range of motion in your neck. I talked about this a little bit too in detail. So I gave the example, I was picking on Kristen a little bit in the live call because she was just working out. I saw her gym in the background, but it's like if you take your dumbbell and you do a bunch of bicep curls, right? And then you decide, I'm just going to hold it in that curl position and walk around with it the rest of the day. How long is that going to last? That muscle is going to fatigue out pretty quickly, right? And you're going to not be able to do it anymore. What do you think happens if we're walking around shrugged or postures like this all day? Those muscles are under a constant state of contraction. They're eventually going to fatigue, and they're eventually going to wear out, and they're going to stop being able to do the job that they're meant to do. Okay, does that make sense? So that happens a lot. Numbness and tingling in the arms. I'm not going to talk about the whole story I talked about the other day, but let's just put it this way. Numbness and tingling in the arms, in the fingers, in the hands can be so many different issues, and so often it's misdiagnosed. I've had anything from, carpal tunnel surgery, for example, is only about a 50%, 60% maybe success rate. Carpal tunnel surgery is right here in the wrist, right? Where that one of the nerves that goes to the fingers and the hand can become entrapped, compressed in that tunnel of the carpal bones, which is why it's called carpal tunnel. The reason that it's not always successful is because that same nerve can become entrapped in other places, anywhere from the neck all the way down the arm. And so often I help people with these postural issues and the numbness and tingling goes away. If you ever heard of thoracic outlet syndrome, that's another thing that's basically kind of in this part of your neck, the collarbone, first rib, scalene muscles, this area right here, where those nerves become compressed and it causes the whole arm to go numb or dead or weak, right? So sometimes surgeons will even want to cut out the first rib. Holy smokes. I've had a lot of patients over the years that's what either they had done or that the docs want to do. And I've saved a lot of people over the years from having to have that procedure done. That's terrifying to me. You want to remove my first rib? Do I need my first rib? I mean, I don't know. How have I lived 50 years with it and now all of a sudden it needs to be gone? There's other issues going on, y'all. And these postural syndromes are oftentimes at play, causing something like thoracic outlet syndrome. Okay, so just always think deeper. And a lot of it you can fix, or at least get in even severe cases of things like that, neuropathies and things, you can get a lot of improvement, even if it never gets 100% better. Okay, because most of the time with surgeries, things don't get 100% better either. Okay, the whole purpose of this plan was, I think I said this earlier, 30 days to really get a good foundation in 10 minutes or less. So it's sustainable. I want you to stay consistent, disciplined, but who doesn't have 10 minutes a day, right? You just have to do it, right? Maybe it's before your workouts, maybe it's before bed, maybe it's when you get up in the morning, whenever it is during your day, get it done. I designed this to be minimal equipment as well. I could add on this little equipment list those big blow up physio balls. There's a couple exercises where it'd be great to have one of those, but a foam roller, some resistance bands, and I really love these. This is the one that you can get on Amazon for like 15 bucks. It's called an Apex cervical orthosis. It's just like a little foam piece that you can lay on. And this is a passive way to help relax your muscles, put your spine in a neutral curved position and relieve some stress. So that's not necessarily one of the exercises in the plan, but that's something that I do have a lot of my patients do while they're doing the active care work, which is the program. Okay. So we're going to release tight overactive muscles. We're going to activate and strengthen weak muscles or inhibited muscles. We're going to retrain posture. We're going to store normal joint mobility. That's kind of the four end goals for this. And if you do these things, man, you're going to feel so much better. Man, even if you don't have symptoms, you're just going to feel better. You might feel more energy. Like this kind of stuff, so much, it's energy draining, right? So here's what it looks like. Kind of days 1 through 10 is laying the foundation, some really basic, simple things. Even if you think you're an advanced kind of person, start with the fundamentals. I would still encourage you to start with the first things because even the professionals, I think I talked about Tom Brady. You could look at Kobe Bryant. You could look at all these people, the best athletes and the ones that have sustained their careers the longest and been at the top of their game, had less injuries. It's because they stuck with the fundamentals. When it came to body work, you guys wouldn't believe how much money Tom Brady spent and how much time, effort, and energy he put into keeping his body healthy. And he did things like this on a daily basis. Okay, we're going to activate and align. We're going to integrate and stabilize as the program goes on. you're going to see it broken up into different sections. So every day you're going to have some self-myofascial release. So that's releasing tight muscles. You're going to have some stretching, and you're going to have some activating or strengthening, and then some postural integration, kind of tying it all together with different exercises. So this is an example of phase one, day 1 through 3. You're just doing some thoracic spine mobility work, getting your thoracic spine moving, because that is so stuck and stiff on so many of us because we're hunched forward all day. We lose the ability to open up and extend, which really creates a lot of issues for the shoulders and the neck. Okay, so there's different exercises with the foam roller there. There's tennis balls or lacrosse balls. The lacrosse ball is kind of a hard rubber ball that you can use in place of this, doing some release work on yourself, for example, on the pec. There's some others as you go. And then, of course, some of the basic stretching you want to do after you do the release work is the best time to do it. And then we follow up so we release, we stretch, increase flexibility, then we activate or strengthen. Okay, so things like scapular squeezes, things like chin tucks or retractions, aka the double chin maneuver, things like wall angels. These are the most basic things. One of the reasons these are also so important is they teach you or remind you of the principles that you will then put into other exercises that are more complicated or advanced later on. So you need to remember the principle of down and back shoulder blades. You need to remember the principle of a chin tuck retraction like this guy's doing right here in this picture. Okay, you need to remember these things, because if you get to a more advanced exercise later and you lose all of that, you're going to retrain the wrong patterns. And that's a neurological training. You're literally training your brain how to move your body, how to stabilize your body. And if you do it incorrectly during exercise, man, that's a big mistake and a big no-no. So if you can do an exercise where you're keeping all of these things in mind consciously, you start to retrain the brain and the neurology to be able to do it like that without you thinking about it. And that is when it becomes so powerful. Okay. You're going to see, again, there's pictures for all of this stuff. This is what I was talking about earlier, the levator scapula. That green muscle goes all the way up and attaches to your neck, but it attaches to your shoulder blade on this upper inner border. And where that red circle is right there is where most people, if you feel back there, you're going to feel a big knot, just an adhesion, scar tissue. That happens over time. You probably never tore that muscle, and that's why it's got scar tissue in a knot. It's the repetitive, like shoulder shrugging, rounded shoulders, stressed out lifestyle we all live, causes that to accumulate over time. So doing some self-release work there, doing some nice stretching, mobility, and then again, you start to use some bands, etc. I'm going to kind of go down to this one I talked about in the live call. And really, I think it's an important point. So this is an example of an exercise a lot of people do. It's called a dead bug. Maybe you've seen people do this, maybe you never have, but it's known to be a core exercise. So you hold your legs up, you hold your arms up, and then you start moving. The picture on the far right is what a traditional dead bug would look like. The opposite leg and the opposite arm move. The whole purpose is to keep your core tight and active while you're moving your arms and your legs. So it's a great full body integration in what we call a cross crawl pattern. So opposite arm, opposite leg, like when a baby starts to crawl. Okay, when we walk, when we run, we always are using the opposites, right? So what the point here is if you start with even like one of these big blow up balls, this would be like a beginner way to do it, is just holding it there, okay? But then focusing on what the rest of your body's doing. And that's the point. So you want to, on this focus section where it says focus here, right here, you want to make sure your core is active, tight, right? You want to also make sure your chin is slightly tucked. Let's turn those neck muscles on as well. You want to make sure your shoulder blades are in a down and back position, in the proper position. All the while, your core is active and you're trying to breathe properly through your belly. If you can do all of those things at one time, don't get frustrated if you can't, but you have to keep working on it because once you're able to do all of those things at the same time, you're starting to reprogram your brain and your body to be able to recognize this is the right way to do it. And that's going to start to turn things around for you. Okay. Of course, there's progressions. So after that one, you can start to hold the ball and use your arm and leg and then a full dead bug. You can add bands to this. You can add weights to this. So I'll do a weighted dead bug where I'll hold a dumbbell or a kettlebell in my arm as I go up overhead. I might put a band around my foot so that way it adds resistance when I'm coming back up. You can do all sorts of things with this, but these are the basics right here. Okay. Anytime we do like a cervical retraction and then we want to start incorporating extension. So basically it would be like retract and then extend. So we're starting to work normal range of motion in our neck. You don't want to look like this lady on the right. That's why there's a big red X through it. That is no. You want small ranges of motion. You want to maintain that chin tuck as you look up, not just flop into extension. So there's points like that you want to pay attention to. Let me zoom down here though to kind of the bottom to kind of show you these exercises get a little bit more advanced as you go, but all of them are doable for most people. There's obviously modifications for all of them too. Sometimes I'll put in different options in case, like say you have a bad knee, a replaced knee, you can't kneel on the floor. Well, then do the one where you're lying in your bed or on the floor if you can get on the floor and do this thoracic spine mobilization rather than this one. There's always ways you can get it done. Okay. Now, as you go here in phase three, so kind of that last week or so, I'm going to start saying, okay, so now you should know at this point, like what are the biggest areas that you need to work on? So let's do some self-selected release. Focus on that for 1 or 2 minutes. What are the tightest areas that you've noticed? Work on those areas for a couple minutes at a time. And then what are those areas that felt like the weakest or that you had the hardest time activating? Those are going to be things you want to work on. I threw in some extra advanced stuff here. This one here, banded rows with hip hinging. Okay, so this is an upper cross syndrome guide. So upper cross is obviously the upper body, but really does our upper body work independently of our lower body? The answer is no. And that is why we need to integrate things in the whole system. So upper and lower body integrated together. So something like I just talked about with the the dead bug, bird dog would be another one that's in here that's full body. But those are things where, again, we're moving our legs, our arms while we're keeping our core tight and all of these other things. That's full body integration. Another example is this hip hinge. So if you have lower back pain, eventually I will do another guide for lower cross syndrome. Okay, more low back pain, hip issues, knee issues, all that. But what you can start with is practicing hip hinging. Most people do not know how to do this. And if they don't know how to do this, or they do it poorly, so they bend over and their spine curves. We should be able to move like this lady on the left, straight spine. All the motion is coming through her hips. You can use a broomstick, a dowel, something straight. You can hold it behind your back, practicing just hinging at the hips. So your butt should stick back a little bit. The motion should be through your hip joints and a little slight bend in your knee. Okay, so we want to start incorporating that position with a banded row. So again, what are we going to be looking for this guy on the right? He's got a slight bend in his knee. He's got a hip hinge. He's active in his core. His shoulder blades are down and back. His chin is slightly tucked. So he's in a great postural position as he then rows with the band with the resistance back, activating his back muscles and his scapular shoulder blade stabilizers. Okay, that is full body integration. Now, most people you see at the gym, I have to close my eyes. Like I just don't even like they'll be doing a row and they'll hyperextend their lower back, they'll shrug their shoulders, and they'll jut their chin every repetition. They don't know it, or they do know it and they don't care, but most of the time they don't know. They're training terrible motor patterns in their body. They're training themselves to be in poor positions. They might be strong as all get out and be able to row 1,000 pounds. I don't care. They're going to end up with a low back pain. They're going to end up with a disc issue in their neck. They're going to have something go wrong because they're not training the right patterns. Okay. You can be strong and unstable. You can be strong and hurt. Okay. So take that for what it's worth. But my point is making sure we're checking all of these boxes as you're doing every exercise. There's the bird dog. Different ways you can do bird dogs with resistance to make it harder. A unilateral farmer carry is a great exercise. And then we get down to that last few days where I start to say, okay, let's start doing some circuit work. So I'll use this even with when I was working with some elite athletes, I would have them do these kind of things as their warm-ups. Maybe a warm-up to a practice, maybe a warm-up to a strength training session in the weight room. But you have to activate and turn on and mobilize and do these things to get your body ready for activities like that. So for a lot of us, average Joe and Janes, just to get ready for the day. I mean, maybe you have to pick up kids, maybe you have to pick up grandkids, maybe you have to bend over and do your laundry. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're athletic. We are all athletes in our own right. Doesn't mean you have to be out on the football field, volleyball court, whatever, doing crazy stuff. You need to be able to walk. You need to be able to squat. You need to be able to deadlift and lunge and reach over your head. These are all athletic events. And if you can't do those with good quality, okay, you're going to end up hurt or with something going on. Okay, so these are great things to start implementing on a daily basis. So again, everybody, that I hope you guys will get a lot out of this. Again, for you in my program, I'm gifting this to you guys. I want your feedback though too. Um, so whether it's for this program after you dive into it or whether it's for the functional medicine side of things, if you guys would, I would just appreciate so much if you'd leave a Google review. I'll try to remember to put that in the chat when I send this out. But for friends, family, coworkers, neighbors who you think would love this kind of thing, I am going to have this for sale. So, I'd appreciate it if you didn't just share it with them. Of course, it takes me a lot of time, energy, and effort to come up with stuff like this. So it's going to be cheap. I mean, this is like a full rehab program that a physical therapist would put together. And you're talking, yeah, you might have insurance pay for some of it, but even it's going to be less than a copay. All right, let's just put it that way. I'm gonna release this, and it's gonna be less than most people's copay for them to just buy this and have it, and then they can always reference back to it. Okay, so I'd appreciate if you spread the word. Leave a Google review on my Google because that just drives people to stuff they need. People need to know functional medicine, physical rehabilitation, like this kind of stuff. It's all one thing. It's all about the health of our bodies, our minds, our spirits, everything, right? And that's what I'm all about. So they can scan a QR code if they want to talk to me. There's a link that they can click, obviously, too. And there's some other pointers here. So that's pretty much it for the day. I hope I didn't forget anything that I said to the live class, but um, yeah, just looking forward to some of you guys diving into that. I hope it will really help some of you guys if you just put it into practice. So let me know how it's going, and everybody have a great rest of your week. Okay, bye-bye.